Welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a tool that is, and I mean this, absolutely essential for anyone running a business, or even just kicking around an idea for one. It's called Cost Volume Profit Analysis, or CVP for short. And honestly, it's basically a superpower for answering all those critical what-if questions that keep you up at night.
I mean, really think about it. If you were to open a brand new coffee cart tomorrow, what's that magic number? How many cups of coffee do you actually have to sell just to cover your costs before you've even made a single penny of profit? Well, answering that exact question is what CVP analysis is all about.
Okay, so let's get the official definition up here. CVP analysis is the study of how changes in your costs, your prices, and the sheer volume of what you sell all ripple out and affect your profit. But at its heart, it's really the ultimate what-if tool. What if I raise my price by 50 cents? What if my rent goes up? CVP is what lets you model those scenarios and see the financial outcome.
So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with our big what-if scenario. Then we'll get into a really powerful concept called contribution. From there, we'll figure out the famous break-even point, then start planning for actual profit. We'll even see how this whole thing works when you're juggling multiple products. And finally, we'll talk about why CVP is an amazing tool, but not a crystal ball.
Now, to make all of this really stick, we're going to use a simple example the whole way through. So let's meet the Pixel Perk coffee cart. It's our little startup, and we're going to use it to walk through every single piece of CVP analysis step by step.
All right, let's get into what I think is the most important idea in all of CVP. It's a little something called contribution, and you can think of it as the real engine that drives your business forward, from losing money to finally making a profit.
So what is it? Well, contribution is the little chunk of cash you get from selling one item after you subtract the variable costs. The costs that are directly tied to making that one item. For our Pixel Perk coffee cart, let's say we sell a cup for $4, and the coffee, the milk, the cup itself costs us $2. Well, the contribution is $2. That $2 is what's left over to help pay our fixed costs like the cart rental, and then, once those are covered, it becomes pure profit.
We can also look at this as a percentage, which is super useful. It's called the contribution to sales, or CS ratio. For our coffee cart, a $2 contribution on a $4 sale, well, that's a CS ratio of 50%. And what that tells us is that for every single dollar that comes in from a sale, 50 cents is available to cover our fixed costs and then start building profit. It's a really powerful little number.
Okay, now for the part everyone's heard of. Using that idea of contribution, we can find the single most important milestone for any new business, the break-even point. This is that magic number where you officially stop losing money.
And the definition is just what it sounds like. It's the exact point where the money coming in equals the money going out. You haven't made a profit yet, but, and this is huge, you haven't made a loss either. You're perfectly balanced right at zero.
And believe it or not, the formula to find it is so simple. You just take your total fixed costs for the month, that's stuff like your rent and salaries, and you divide it by the contribution you make from each single item you sell. That's it.
So let's run the numbers for Pixel Perk. Let's say our fixed costs are $1,000 a month, and we already know our contribution per cup is $2. So we just divide 1,000 by 2. The answer? 500. We need to sell 500 cups of coffee every single month just to cover our costs. It's that 500 first cup where we finally start making a profit.
We can also see this visually with something called a profit volume chart. Just picture a simple graph where the horizontal line in the middle is zero profit. If we sell 0 cups, we're starting way below that line, with a loss equal to our fixed costs, that $1,000 for the cart. But with every single cup we sell, we start climbing closer and closer to that line.
And this really just sums it all up beautifully. That profit line on the chart starts in the red and moves up with every sale. The exact spot where it finally crosses that line from loss into profit, that is your break-even point. Visually, it's the moment of truth. Look, breaking even is great. It means you're surviving. But let's be real. Nobody starts a business just to survive. The real goal is to make a profit. So let's use CVP to move beyond just breaking even and actually start planning to make some money.
And the great thing is, we can just slightly tweak our break-even formula to aim for a specific profit target. You just add your desired profit to your fixed costs before you divide by the contribution per unit. So what if we wanted to make $500 in profit? Well, we'd add that to our $1,000 in fixed costs, divide by our $2 contribution, and we'd find out we need to sell 750 cups. Simple as that.
Now here's another incredibly useful idea.
It's called the margin of safety. And this basically tells you how much of a cushion you have. It's the gap between what you plan to sell and what you need to sell just to break even. It's your financial buffer zone.
So for example, if we budget to sell those 750 cups a month, but we know our break-even point is 500 cups, our margin of safety is 250 cups. This is amazing information to have. It means we could have a slow week and sell 250 fewer cups than we planned, and we'd still not lose any money. This isn't just a number. It's a real measure of your business's resilience. It's peace of mind.
Okay, but what if Pixel Perk gets a little ambitious? What if we decide to start selling pastries and maybe some sandwiches alongside our coffee? The real world is usually more complex than just one product, so let's see how CVP handles that.
So the secret to multi-product CVP is a concept called the sales mix. It's just the ratio of what you sell. For example, maybe for every 2 coffees we sell 1 pastry. Now, CVP analysis relies on one big assumption here, that this sales mix is going to stay pretty constant.
Now, to find the break-even point for all of our products together, we can't just use one item's contribution. Instead, we have to create a weighted average CS ratio based on our usual sales mix. Now, I know that sounds complicated, but the idea is actually pretty simple. Imagine that bundle of 2 coffees and 1 pastry. We'd figure out the total contribution from that whole bundle and divide it by the total selling price of that bundle. That gives us a new blended CS ratio for the business as a whole. Then we just use that new ratio to find the total sales dollars we need to hit to break even.
All right, it's time for a very important reality check. CVP analysis is an incredibly powerful tool for planning, but it is not a magical crystal ball that predicts the future. It works based on a few key assumptions, and it's really important that we understand what they are.
You see, CVP assumes that things stay pretty consistent. It assumes your fixed costs don't suddenly jump up, that your supply costs per item don't fluctuate, and that your selling prices are stable. But in the real world, things can change. And that's exactly why CVP is best thought of as a short-term planning tool. It's a fantastic guide, but it's a guide you need to update as your business conditions change.
So let's wrap this all up. The key takeaway is really this. CVP analysis gives you the power to model the future. It turns those gut feelings and hopes into hard numbers. By really understanding the relationship between your costs, your sales volume, and your profit, you can make way smarter, more confident decisions about pretty much everything.
So, I'll just leave you with this thought. Whether it's a coffee cart, a software company, or just a side hustle you're dreaming up, you now have the fundamental tool to explore its financial potential. So what's the first what-if question you're going to ask?